I am John DeVore. Welcome to the channel. Record review today, but it's a tough one. I've been trying to figure out how to explain this record and its relationship to the world. And I came up with an analogy on my walk to work this morning. Let's say that you're in a business school and you're a professor, like a professor of marketing, and you want to give your students a very difficult challenge. You want to present to your students an objectively excellent thing that is essentially impossible to market. Let's say that because you're an audiophile, let's say that you want to make it a piece of music. So what would you do? So you would first, to make it difficult to market, you would look for genres of music that are least popular. But to be fair, you wanted to stick with sort of major genres. So let's throw three together. Let's say opera. Opera, very intimidating genre of music for a lot of people. Let's say free jazz, very intimidating, very difficult to appreciate for the uninitiated at least. And then let's say heavy metal, but not like the "You Shook Me All Night Long" heavy metal. I'm talking about the full Cookie Monster rah, 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 heavy metal. All right, so we've got our three difficult genres, also selected so that each one maybe repels the other. Metal repels the jazz heads. Jazz finds opera too pompous. Opera looks at the other two and rolls their classically trained eyes. So there's not a lot of cross sympathies in this Venn diagram that we're starting to come up with. But then, just to get rid of those 6 people for whom that Venn diagram may actually intersect, let's sprinkle in a theme that is pretty universally repellent. How about necrophilia? So this pretty much sums up the record that I want to talk about today. So for me, the record itself, the record of this piece of music, is sort of like the cherry on top of the sundae. I've been following along the journey for a few years now with this particular musical project. A couple of years ago, I went to see a live performance of this in a space in Queens, and it wasn't complete yet. It was mostly done, but it was to some extent it was like floating a balloon to see its viability. But also, I think at this point it was far enough along that it was also the artist and the composer was trying to raise money to make the full recording, to first of all complete the piece and then to record it. No simple task for either of those things. I was blown away. My wife and I went to this performance, absolutely blown away. I was really impressed. I couldn't believe what I had just seen. I went in with a lot of skepticism, mixed with a lot of I don't know what the fuck this is going to be, and left saying, "Holy shit, that was incredible! One of the best musical experiences I had had in a while." And absolutely wanted to do anything I could to help this guy finish the piece and get it recorded. I helped in a little Kickstarter along the way. But I've also been following this piece of music because of other things. So the reason I heard of it in the first place to go to that preview in Queens was because my sister and brother-in-law were performing in it. They were musicians in the piece. My sister and brother-in-law have a string quartet. So they tell me about this performance. I'm intrigued. I go. My wife and I go, utterly blown away. And then I was recognized at the performance by the composer. The mastermind of the whole scheme is this guy, Laurent David. He is the leader of a trio. It's sort of a free jazz. I wouldn't call it free jazz exactly, but it's a jazz trio, very non-traditional jazz trio called Kilter. He is a bass player, and the other two members of the trio are this absolutely phenomenal drummer and a baritone sax player. So quite a non-traditional jazz trio there. Laurent recognized me because I had reviewed one of Kilter's previous releases. This is, a couple of years ago. This is one of the early videos on the channel. But he recognized me from that video and thanked me, and I thought, oh, that was cool, small world. So far now, so we have 7 Sons. This is a string quartet. I'm talking about the instrumentation of this piece of music that I saw. String quartet, which is 2 violins, cello, and viola. Generally, it's a classical string quartet. We have Kilter, which is that jazz trio of bass, baritone sax, and drums. We have a phenomenal soprano, who, in addition to being somewhat classically trained soprano, also is a metal singer, so has this ability to do the Cookie Monster and metal wail. And if you haven't heard a soprano do the Cookie Monster, it's awesome. And then rounding out this ensemble, we have from, I believe, Montreal, from Canada, we have the Growlers Choir, which is a metal classical choir. I believe it's 4 members, if I'm remembering correctly, who can straight up Cookie Monster as well. So that is our instrumentation. This is an opera. It is a jazz metal opera, I believe is how Laurent describes it. Libretto. So Laurent is the composer. The librettist is a guy, William Berger, who works at the Met and is a straight up classical motherfucker, and in my opinion, a fantastic librettist, and is not afraid to push buttons and go places. Why is this important? Well, so the story of the opera. So the opera is called La Suspendida, an opera in jazz and metal for female soloist and chorus. I just read that off the back of this, with Kilter, Andromeda Anarcha, who is the soprano, the Growlers Choir, and 7 Sons. There it is, right on the back. I could have just read that right off the back. This opera is based on a true story. It's the story of Maria Elena, who in the early 20th century, so there was a doctor, a German doctor living in Florida, Miami, I believe, in the early 1900s. He was called upon to treat a recent Cuban immigrant girl. I believe she was 19 or 20, something like that, who had just come over with her mother, and she had tuberculosis. So the mother and Maria Elena came to meet this doctor. The doctor treated Maria Elena, but unfortunately Maria Elena died of tuberculosis. However, the doctor had fallen madly in love with Maria Elena, and unbeknownst to the mother, decided to embalm the corpse of this lovely girl and take her as his wife. This La Suspendida is based on this story. But what makes it far more interesting is that the opera is told from the dead Maria Elena's perspective. So the soprano is playing the corpse bride. Andromeda Anarcha is playing Maria Elena, who is this corpse bride. And she is the dramatic growlatura soprano. I love that. That's fucking hilarious. The Growlers Choir play the Choir of the Dead. They play that entity in the opera, and there's a remarkable back and forth. It works way better than it sounds like it would. So let's get back to our class on Marketing 101. If you're going to try to market to the opera folks, the connoisseur of opera, you're going to repel them with heavy metal, free jazz, and necrophilia. If you're going to target to the chamber music aficionado, you're going to repel them with opera, which is really sort of the opposite of chamber music. You're going to repel them with free jazz, likely. You're going to repel them with necrophilia, possibly. If you're going to market to the heavy metal audience, there may be some necrophilia overlap there. No offense. But how are you going to explain the presence of a classical string quartet and opera? It's tough. So we've got our Venn diagram of our three genres, sort of, let's say, the little bubbles of oil floating in water. We've got our opera, we've got our heavy metal, we've got our free jazz, and then we've put a drop of Dawn dishwashing liquid is our necrophilia, which dispersed it all. So there is literally zero overlap. We've got a Venn diagram with literally zero overlap. Maybe there's an overlap of metal and opera over here. Maybe there's an overlap of free jazz and metal over here. Maybe there's an overlap of necrophilia and metal over here. But there is no overlap. If you were to throw a dart and try to hit the overlap of all the Venn diagrams, you could throw all day long, and there's no target. There's literally no bullseye. However, I urge everyone to at least check it out and sample some of the streaming sample bits for free if you can. It's a remarkable experience. I know that I'm still going to lose 99.9% of you guys. And I say this because I know this to be true. A good friend of mine with whom I exchange music all of the time, I sent this guy a link to the digital master. So before this was pressed, I had heard the digital master and loved it. And so I sent it to my friend, just saying, you have to just experience this. This is an amazing piece of music. And I never heard anything back from them. So I checked in a couple of weeks later, and they confessed to me that they couldn't face it. The barrier of entry to facing a heavy metal, free jazz opera about necrophilia is simply too high. And you know what? I can't disagree. But this piece of music is so awesome. To me, in my opinion, it's awesome. And if you are able to, if you can muster the courage to sit down and play this piece of music through the opening drone, it's a powerful, deep, ominous drone, and listen through, you're going to come out the other end stunned. It's awesome. Absolutely worth it. And you know what? A lot of the people they're not gonna make it through the first minute. Some of them are gonna make it through 15 minutes and then bail. Some people are gonna make it through 30 minutes and bail, and some are gonna make it through the other side and say, John DeVore, why did you force me to do this? But there's a handful of you who are gonna come out the other side and be like, thanks. That was awesome. That's all I want. I want people to experience this, because I know naturally in this world, I think the algorithms and the AI and all of that stuff, they are not going to know what the fuck to do with La Suspendida. Who do you recommend it to? Nobody. It's broken the algorithms. I'm guaranteeing you that. So I'm going to say, ignore the algorithms, ignore your instincts, and go and listen to this and buy it if you love it, because this guy has put it all out there. He has paid for this 100%. It's an incredibly ambitious undertaking, and he fucking did it. and it's awesome. And he is worthy of our praise. He is worthy of at least a shot at financial gain from this thing. If not for actual profit, maybe to help fund his next mad scheme. And I can't wait to hear what that is. Thank you for listening and watching. But really, thank you for listening. If you go to the link and listen, thank you for that. And I will see you at the next video. Bye.
Yeah.